Well, today, without further ado, we're going to start talking about scaling AI, moving past just prototyping. And I'm really excited for this session. So without further ado, Kylan, Brian, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Christine. Yeah, so this is the closing session, right? We're wrapping up today. By far, my favorite topic to talk about, which to Christine's point, right, is about scaling agents. So really kind of building out that assembly line. So we're going to go through a very quick recap, high level of like some of the things that we've kind of covered so far in some of these webinar sessions. Then we'll jump right into a concept called meta agents, which is where we literally have agents that go out and identify no-code agent use cases. That's basically like a great primitive for us to actually start scaling out how we deploy no-code agents. And then ultimately we'll wrap up the session. Okay, so the quick recap here is we've gone over prompting, right? Making sure that when we're building our no-code agents, it's really important that we give them very clear instructions on how to operate. We want to make sure that they're grounded in our business data. Of course, we've kind of learned throughout this webinar series that is one of the great things about Gemini Enterprise is it makes that grounding piece rather mindless. I mean, it abstracts away a lot of the complexity that would otherwise be in place for us to make sure that AI is grounded in our business and our business logic. We've talked through workflow actions at this point, being able to actually create entire workflow orchestrations around what no-code agents can do so that they can actually start doing more meaningful things with the information that we give them. And then we've talked about just quality feedback, basically how we can review and ultimately improve and iterate on the no-code agents that we're working through. Yeah, so it's hard to talk about scaling AI without showing you guys the cake. So the cake is Promevo has actually built a no-code agent library. This is what it really looks like to have the assembly line built. Promevo has already built it. And so the reality is, right, it's hard for a lot of people to come up with good ideas for no-code agent use cases, even if you understand the best practices. That's why it's really important to basically build an assembly line because there's a lot of things going on here. I mean, AI is so new. There's a big change management piece to all of this where it doesn't matter how much you kind of inform people in your organization on how to build no-code agents. A lot of people, because this is so net new, still kind of struggle with like, what should I build now that I have this information, right? So that's why having an assembly line and scaling this stuff out is so important. We've built a product offering, to kind of help solve for this, but I'm gonna, through this webinar episode, kind of step through like, how do we get to this? Like, what are the things that are happening under the hood to be able to allow for us to even get here? And Brian, I could tell you've got something to say here, so I want to.
No, it's just Kylan. It's interesting. It's like the now what, right? It's like it's like you bought your house, right? Your AI house. You went through all the effort to get everything in the door, get everything set up, get everybody trained on what a good prompt looks like, and then you put it into operation. And without a tool like this, it's a now what? Okay, now I've got the browser. I've got what? Well, let's see, what prompt can I come up with? And it's so much easier to pick from a menu of things that are related to the things that you're already familiar with, and then to customize the natural language to meet your need. So I think that's what this brings. That's the cake. I think it's a very good thing that you have kind of an automated process for producing high quality prompts.
Ultimately, if we want to build an assembly line, basically automate the ability for us to create a whole bunch of no-code agent use cases that save us time, it's really important to have a very solid foundation. That's one of the really nice things about what Gemini Enterprise is doing for us, right? It allows us to do things like prototype our agents. It gives us mechanisms for validating basically how reliable they are. Gemini Enterprise, of course, gives us the ability to govern our agents. Ultimately, we can kind of secure and measure them. Like, there's a lot of things, of course, that Gemini Enterprise does that just solves for this for us, which is great. Like, if we didn't have Gemini Enterprise, these are all the types of things that we would have to lay out first before we could even think about scaling no-code agents. So let me jump over to the next slide. This is where we're actually going to talk more about just what is it to even build these no-code agents that help find no-code agent use cases. So, oh, Brian, I could tell you got something here.
No. You're hitting it. It's interesting to me the way you put these together, because you kind of have a blueprint on the very first slide of what we're going to do, and then you have your first example of a blueprint here, And then the next example is another blueprint. But the funny thing is, they feed on one another. And I guess you're going to break that down right now. And that's the part that I think is so interesting, because you conceived this. This is your baby.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the very first thing you would almost want to have in place before you even think about making an assembly line. And what I mean by that is we've created this concept of a meta agent, and this is an agent, and we'll switch over here shortly. I'll show you guys what those prompt instructions kind of look like. But the whole idea of building a meta agent is you basically prompting this agent saying, hey, no-code agent, these are what no-code agents are particularly good at. These are prompting best practices. You'll see off to the left side in this slide here that we have a bunch of connectors plugged into this meta agent. And the reality is the sole task or objective of this agent is it's supposed to go through as many connectors as we possibly have connected into Gemini Enterprise. That's where the grounding piece comes in. And then through the prompting that we give the meta agent, it's basically going to go through and look through all the data sources that it has at its disposal, and it's going to try to find inefficiencies. Basically, what are you doing in your day-to-day where there's a lot of repetitive work that's happening, or types of tasks that no-code agents are just particularly good at doing? And it's actually going to surface and recommend those. That's kind of like one of those other foundational pieces, right? Before we could even think about building an assembly line, we need to have a very thoughtful, intentional process around how can we even surface these ideas where no-code agents can help us and do a lot of work on our behalf. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to sharing my screen instead of the slide, where I've actually got the prompt here for the meta agent. And let me zoom in here real quick for us. Going back to the idea, right, of the whole point of a meta agent is it needs to be aware of no-code agents, what they're good at, et cetera. So we've got a good prompt here. I'll try to make sure that we find a way to circulate this out for anyone who's on the call. But this is really giving the no-code agent, this meta agent, all these instructions on, again, just no-code agent best practices, basically. So you'll see that we just start off this prompt where we're articulating to the no-code agent, act as a Gemini Enterprise Solutions Architect and Process Optimization Expert. Its evaluation criteria for what a good no-code agent is all articulated in the prompt. So it's trying to find where there's opportunities for cross-system synthesis, meaning like what are we doing that we would otherwise be going in a lot of different tabs to be able to do our job. We're drafting in a fixed shape. So basically, like, where are there opportunities where we're constantly having to pump out emails, tickets, or briefs? Triaging and classification and routing. These are all things that no-code agents are good at. Policy checks, anywhere where we've got a repeatable playbook inside of our organization, standard operating procedures. This could be like onboarding, offboarding of people, net new documents from a template, light personalized retrieval. These are all things that no-code agents are particularly good at. And so
what I think is that what you've cobbled together is a list of all the reasons we pivot. So like when I'm sitting here trying to put together an email that summarizes a meeting that I just had and combines it with, kind of details on what was presented in the meeting, instead of me having to go grab the meeting notes or the transcript, and then also grab, any of the presentation materials. What this is doing is saying, look at all those things that I just did and do the cross section, and then tell me, out of all the things that I do on an ongoing basis, what are the ones that I do most often that you see, and build a prompt for me that does those things for me.
Yep.
And that's what I really like about it, is that it looks at your workflow and kind of figures out what you might want to do on an ongoing basis, and then gives you a menu for it.
Yeah. Couple other things I'll talk about as it relates to just how are we prompting this meta agent is we're also giving it negative constraints. So we're basically saying do not recommend agents for a couple of things. And these make sense, right? So one of these is we don't want our no-code agent to recommend ideas that pertain to things like deleting records or approving payouts, right? I think we can all agree on this call that there are still important things that just people should always be in the driver's seat for. So we don't want to have no-code agents necessarily being recommended for these types of use cases. Another one would be, or another thing that's really important here is just the output format. So we're really asking it like, hey, every time you're going out and you're finding these no-code agent use cases through all my data systems, Give me a name for that agent, give me a description for that agent, give me what sort of category, business category does this kind of fit under? What are the necessary connectors that I will need to be able to connect into this no-code agent for it to be effective at its job? Are there any files that I should be trying to upload or append as in the form of knowledge for this agent? So instead of it having to go out and maybe try to find this file in our system, maybe we always want it grounded against some sort of standard operating procedure. And we don't want to take that risk of, oh, I hope it finds that standard operating procedure. Well, there's actually a way through what's called knowledge. It's a feature inside of these no-code agents where we can upload files that we very specifically wanted to always ground its responses against. This is going to recommend any opportunities where maybe that's an important piece to building out the no-code agent. And then it's supposed to provide some output, some guidance around what should the actual orchestration be for this no-code agent. Should it have sub-agents? How many sub-agents? What should all those sub-agents be doing? And then a quick justification for the no-code agent. So I always like to be able to verify like recommendations. I don't want a no-code agent that just recommends no-code agents blindly for me. I actually want it to come up with a clear justification as to, so I just have some explainability as to why did it even come up with this no-code agent use case. And so that being said, let me go back over to Gemini Enterprise. And this is what it's like, of course, just to even go into the agent gallery. So this is the agent gallery where I have a whole bunch of agents that kind of serve various use cases for me. But the one that I'm talking about, again, is this meta agent. And I'm just going to click into it really quickly so we can kind of understand the blueprints, the ingredients that are involved here, right? So you all just saw the document where I was showing you the prompt, and I only showed you guys the prompt inside of the document because it's a little clearer to see here how we're prompting the no-code agent as opposed to what you guys all get to see from this UI. So it is literally a single agent just working by itself. Has that name meta agent. It has a description, which is, it's supposed to leverage no-code agent best practices and actually seek out and recommend other no-code agents. That's kind of where this whole concept meta kind of comes in. The model that I have selected is 3.5 Flash. If you actually wanted to reason maybe just a little bit more, go for 3.1 Pro, but I find these models are pretty similar in capability with each other. The 3.5 Flash is just a little faster. Mm-hmm. And then whatever connectors your organization has configured into Gemini Enterprise, this is definitely a situation where the more the merrier. I personally work out of these 4 applications the most. Whatever apps that you find that you're leveraging the most in your day-to-day that are exposed inside of Gemini Enterprise, just add them. Ultimately, what we're doing by connecting them is that's what the meta agent is able to go out and actually ground itself against. So it's going to search these connectors and find no-code agent use cases for us. So I actually ran this already so that you guys don't have to wait for what it looks like for us to get a response from this. But just stepping through this, we actually have a few no-code agents that it found for us. So there's one here where it's a Jira ticket FAQ harvester. So I guess the description for this one would be it's automatically analyzing historical Jira queue backlogs to extract recurring question themes, clusters similar inquiries, and generate structured self-service FAQ content. I know I actually work out of Jira quite a bit. That probably is a no-code agent use case that I could benefit from. And really, if you want to implement any one of these, right, it's just a matter of copy one of the use cases. And by the way, let me just scroll down, right? So we got 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 no-code agent use cases that it surfaced for me.
So ideally, if we're looking at how they would do this in their environment, if they had, for example, 5 lines of business, what they would do ideally is find someone that is like the prototype for what the ideal person is in each one of those lines of business, and you would have them run this agent, and it would capture examples of what they do in their work stream, and then you might say, for this line of business, this is a menu of places for you to start, and you would have one for HR and one for sales and one for marketing and all the different teams that exist within the organization. They might choose to run these, and it wouldn't just have to be the individual. I mean, because you can share these. So
Mhm.
I could run this for myself, and then you could run it for yourself, and we're on the same team. So there'd be some overlap on what it recommended for me, but there might be something unique about what it recommended for you. That would be something that I'd be interested in. So
Yeah.
we kind of cobble together like a network of within each line of business of what works, and then that will be our starting point for the prompts that work. It's that easy. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
I like about it. You don't have to come up with the concepts yourself.
Yeah.
This agent builds them for you.
Yep. And then the last piece that I have on this, and then Brian, I'm pretty sure that you ran this as well, so I'd be curious to see some of the use cases that I ended up finding for you. But the last piece I'll share, maybe while Brian is pulling that up, is if you actually wanted to actionalize this information, right? So it's recommended no-code agents. That's great. But okay, I actually want to build this no-code agent that I recommended for me. It's pretty simple. You just copy a particular use case. So I'm just copying use case 5, which is a daily workspace briefing orchestrator no-code agent use case. So I'm copying everything that it laid out as it, for when it was describing this particular use case. I'll go over to new agent. And then just go ahead and paste in theory. There we go. Still getting used to Mac commands. Just switch from Windows. But anyways, I just pasted the instructions on this particular use case that the meta agent surfaced. And I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And so I'm in an actual agent builder dialog right now. So Gemini should actually be trying to go out and build a no-code agent for me, leveraging the instructions that are defined here. And that's why it's so important that this meta agent is actually going so far as to, I guess it got a little jumbled up here in just the way that the UI is displaying it. But there's a piece here in the way that we told it to provide an output where it talks about what does the orchestration need to look like. And you can see actually it's still thinking, but it's developing that sub-agent strategy. And I can guarantee you that under the hood, it's probably leveraging a lot of that information that's being provided in that sort of orchestration piece of the output to figure out how these sub-agents should be working together. This can take a little bit. I've run this plenty of times. It's pretty good at building no-code agents. Sometimes it might take a couple of iterations where you just need to go back and forth with Gemini. But yeah, you'll see here it actually built it for me. And this is that no-code agent use case. And you can tell this is pretty sophisticated. We've got a lot of connectors involved here. So we are tapping into Drive, Google Search, and HubSpot. And it looks like Calendar as well, and Jira. I mean, I can already tell just through the connectors that this is leveraging that the task that this is solving for me would require me jumping into a lot of applications to do my job. So the fact that I could have an agent surface this use case for me, give me the ingredients that I need to be able to build out this automation to save me a little bit of time. And I was doing this all in real time on the call, right? This was a rather mindless process because we were able to take a lot of best practices and kind of bake that into some no-code agents that can really accelerate our processes. Brian, by chance, did you happen to have some that I was able to surface?
I did. It's going to be interesting when I show it to you. Let's share my screen.
All right.
All right. So as you can see, he navigated through the prompts. And when he navigated through the prompts, what he ended up with was the same prompt that I have here. Search our internal systems and find opportunities for no-code agents that I can build that I can help save time and reduce the number of repetitious tasks that I have. But what's interesting about this is that in my case, I pivot a lot because I have different customers. So what it did for me was it identified the most recent use cases that I've been doing with different customers in different industries. So in my case, I'm working with a customer that's a manufacturing customer that takes artwork that you send GIFs or JPEGs, and it'll put it on the side of a moving van or a service truck or even a mug. And so the idea that I'm working on for them involves building an agent that does that automatically for them, extracts it from an email that a customer sends with a request, and then builds a agentic solution that will automate the receipt and building of anything that comes across. And then I have another use case from a customer that's related to an HR customer that I was working with. And you can see the knowledge files needed, employee handbook, health benefits guides, and as well as detailed PTO and policy, various policy deals. And then this one is related to a hospital that I'm working with. They have a use cases for they're worried about daily disease, infectious disease, and the things that are out there. So they want to know from a public health perspective, did anything happen today that we need to be aware of so that we can keep tabs on it. And then I have one for finance. I had a company that wanted to see an analysis of ROI. So one of the use cases that I did was related to that, and it has captured what I would need to do in order to build out a use case for them for an agent that automatically helps them figure out what the variances are. And the last one that they came up with was context intelligence and SME matcher, which should sound familiar to our friend Christine, because I did that one for her. And that's it. Those are the ones that it came up with for me. Says by deploying these agents, we can establish a governed two-track strategy, one for our business teams and one for our pro teams.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Brian. I mean, hopefully that was a valuable exercise for everyone on the call, right? I mean, I think we just showed how a very simple single agent working by itself can actually go through our environment, surface use cases, come up with recommendations, and give us all the blueprints we need to build these. That's great, but if we really want to scale this maybe even further, I mean, this meta agent's great from an individual productivity standpoint, right? Any single person leveraging a meta agent is going to get a lot of value out of this. But if we really want to extrapolate this whole concept a little bit further, then we almost kind of need to start working towards like getting everyone on the same page. So that's kind of where we have a little bit of guidance on basically a rollout strategy. So rollout strategy is really, we've got to have a few things just kind of laid out. We want to make sure that there's infrastructure readiness in place. This really means like getting Gemini Enterprise stood up, get all of your connectors put in place, go through some change management. I know Promevo, we run a lot of workshops with our customers where we actually try to solve for this piece, where we just give people basically a platform overview. That's usually how the first workshop goes, making sure everyone understands all the buttons and dials. This is all very new technology, and people are at varying degrees, I think, of their AI journey. So just having a good intentionality around change management, just to make sure that everyone in your organization is on the same page, I think is extremely important. And then having like a clear defined rollout strategy where you really want to focus on user groups, getting feedback from people inside the organization, and having phases, planned out phases on how you might expand and kind of deploy in your organization. Beyond that, I mean, if we're trying to think through no-code agents and we want to make sure that they are driving business impact, and this kind of plays into rollout strategy as well, there's probably a few considerations that we want to have in mind. And I also know that organizations, we're all kind of getting past the throw a bunch of money at AI. We're kind of done with experimenting. I think a lot of us want to get in front of the problem and truly be able to measure and understand ROI and business impact from these no-code agents.
That's one of the benefits of what you put together. You have put together effectively a menu of some of the most popular ones that you come across. And how many implementations would you say you've done over the last couple of years?
We've probably rolled out no-code agent library for like 20 or 30 customers at some point, or, I think we're at varying degrees of that kind of process. This is
so the repeatability is there. And one of the things that customers always wanted to see was, okay, it's cool, you just gave me some ideas, but how do I calculate the impact these ideas are having? And so built into the library for each one of these that exists is a calculator for ROI. And we'll walk through that shortly, but it's just, this is the best practice, whether you do it on your own or using the kit that we're going to give you. This is like really important from a business perspective, is to understand, what is this doing for you in terms of value? What would life be if you didn't have an agent doing this? How much would you save with the advent of with the creation of one?
Yep. And I mean, our definition of ROI, and I think every company might have a mildly different flavor or interpretation of this, but this is kind of our best practice guidance. We really like to think of no-code agents through the lens of how much time is this no-code agent saving a person every time that it runs? For instance, if a no-code agent is out here and is generating a report for us, how long would it take a person to synthesize the information needed to make that report and then to be able to create it? I would say most of these types of tasks that no-code agents are particularly good at doing usually start out at saving us about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the task that we're prescribing to it. If you have a clear line of sight towards like what is the average hourly rate of people in an organization, that's a very important variable, I think, in just trying to understand and measure the impact. And then execution frequency. So when we're kind of thinking through no-code agents, the ones that are going to have the biggest impact in our organization are going to be the ones that save us the most time every time that it runs. Maybe we're running it frequently. And then I mean, that's really like the heart of it. So frequency, for instance, could be like, is this a no-code agent that we're running every day, every quarter, every Friday, biweekly? Which, of course, I think we've talked about that throughout the webinar series, but like we do have the ability to schedule these agents. But yeah, again, if we understand the time savings every time it runs, the average hourly rate of people in your organization, and then have some estimation around how frequently we might run that no-code agent use case, we can actually start to measure and kind of understand what is the actual impact of this if we roll it out in our organization. I'm going to shift gears one more time just to kind of go through no-code agent library, and this is how Promevo is solved for it. And this is kind of what it looks like to arrive at that assembly line end state. And so we'll just kind of spend some time kind of going through what that looks like. At a glance, this is Promevo's no-code agent library. And you can see that we've actually come up with some annualized estimate on what the ROI could be like if everyone were to roll these out in our organization. And this is kind of what assembly line end state looks like as well. Brian, did you have something to say?
Yeah, there was a real quick thing. You've got it set to default right now, but what I wanted you to show them, because I'm not sure we did already, is each line of business and that you have several menus to choose from out of the box. And so you're using this to calculate the annualized forecast for each one of these different use cases for each one of these different lines of business.
Yeah, that's a good call out, right? So, I mean, we might see through the UI that this is saying like, hey, if you were to roll out all the no-code agents, it looks like there is an estimated ROI of 3.2 million. That is not to say that a single agent is carrying that load. That is all agents combined. That's kind of what we're estimating. And so the way no-code agent library works, and this is our vision for what an ideal assembly line would look like, is you have no-code agent use cases sorted by cohort. So you might have use cases that your sales team might leverage. So your sales use cases, of course, are not going to be the same as your marketing, and they're not going to be the same as your HR. And you'll see as I'm clicking through these, the use cases change. As well as, so I mean, the part of what no-code agent library is doing is it's trying to calculate what is the ROI in these different departments based on the use cases that we've surfaced. This is actually kind of great because we can actually create a library for our customers like without them even fully engaging and getting Gemini Enterprise set up. We can kind of do a little bit of discovery with our customers, create these sort of libraries, basically help our customers create the assembly line, short circuit them having to do this on their own. And maybe you don't want to roll out Gemini Enterprise in your entire organization right out the gate. Well, we can actually try to figure out where could we have like the heavier hitter use cases where maybe you just want to deploy it in your legal department or something, because maybe that's where we found that the biggest impact could be. So again, this is assembly line end state. We actually have a whole automated process on how we're able to create this, leveraging all the best practices that you guys have kind of picked up on throughout this entire like webinar series. We've been able to package that up through a lot of automations that help us just to be able to create these for our customers for different industry verticals. Like I can actually switch into like healthcare right now, for instance, and you'll see that these are all use cases in the healthcare industry vertical. Manufacturing, finance, and this can get tailored way more. I mean, if we really work with a customer and we understand their business problems more closely, and we understand the connectors that they plan on integrating into Gemini Enterprise, we can take this and basically modify and adapt it to more closely match the needs of our customers.
So ideally, right now, I have a customer that we were talking to, and they were, we were not intentionally, but we walked into a bake-off, literally. And in the bake-off, there were other tools that were trying to end other companies that were trying to provide this same service, i.e., they wanted some training related to what prompt generation looks like, what good feels like, and they wanted some guidance. And they wanted us to help them build for each of the lines of business their first couple of prompts just to get them started. That was the idea. That was the goal. And then when they saw that, number one, we were going to do exactly those things that they asked, but number two, we had a guidance system called a no-code library that goes along with what we're training them. They were pretty sold. And that's what I think this value is. It's like, yeah, the first day one, we're there, we're working with you just like anybody else might be. But, on the 30th day and we haven't been there, a lot of times people have a tendency to go back to bad habits and without a guide rail. And what this provides is that guide rail so that, it's really easy for them to find what they're looking for. And it's not like you're building new models daily. So sometimes, you just come here and get an idea, copy it, and then you go paste it in your browser, and now you've got it.
And actually, something I want to circle back on too is, Brian, you mentioned earlier on the call that, when customers maybe initially deployed Gemini Enterprise, that's very equivalent to, okay, cool, you've just bought a house, right? Houses are great. I think we all like houses. We all like having shelter. But of course, great, now that the house is here, how do we furnish this? How do we actually make the house serve us? That's really what having an assembly line is all about. This is what allows us to effectively furnish the house. This is what allows us to go from
home.
Yeah, this is how we go from we have a house to we have a home. We have a suite of use cases that really kind of help derive actual business value. One of the things that I really like too about just looking over this and kind of like ROI and like time savings is I don't necessarily directly correlate to ROI, meaning like, oh, because this is saving $3.2 million in efficiency gains, then therefore we kind of benefit from $3.2 million less in people and payroll. I don't see it that way at all. We've actually worked with a lot of small businesses where before Gemini Enterprise, they couldn't do a lot of these no-code agent use cases because they didn't have the manpower to be able to actually go out and generate some of the reports they wanted to. Like we were working with a real estate firm more recently, and they're like, man, we want so badly to be able to have better business insights, et cetera, but we're just so swamped all the time. And we have like a rather, lean machine of a team. And they got a ton of value when we deployed no-code agent library for them because like we gave them the assembly line. We empowered them to tap into use cases that before they just simply didn't have time to be able to tap into. So I kind of look at ROI as being like, maybe there's valuable use cases that we could be integrating into our business that we're sleeping on today because we're all just so busy in our day-to-day, and maybe there's extra things that we could be doing to bolster our roles and what we do with our jobs, being better empowered by the data insights and stuff we can
I'm thinking maybe we should change the name. It shouldn't be No Code Library. It should be No Code Center of Excellence.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, or even something that's kind of spun off this whole house idea. I really like the whole idea of like, you got the home, we're furnishing it now, I think something I'm realizing now that I kind of glossed over is, no code agent library. What really makes this an effective assembly line is once something like this is deployed in an organization, it's really just a matter of running like a single workshop with people in our organization so they just understand how to use the tool to their advantage. And it's really a matter of maybe using the search bar to type in some ideas you might have, or just if you work in marketing, sift through the marketing use cases. And if you find one that resonates to you in your role, it's just a matter of clicking on it. And here we can actually see this is a use case where it's a orchestrator agent and it's collaborating with sub-agents. And its job is to draft a writer-ready content brief from our drive with brand pillars, with Google search context on the topic and target keyword basically it's a content brief generator. I'm realizing I'm slaughtering reading the description here. I think we all can read. It is a content brief generator. And we have the orchestrator agent, and has a lot of sub agents that are kind of going through, they're retrieving, they're synthesizing, and then they're ultimately reviewing next steps and kind of all collaborating together to give us the outputs that we want. And if you actually wanted to actionalize the information that's inside of here, all the prompts exist. So basically, like, no code agent library acts on the assembly line in the sense that, cool, we can understand and visually see what should I be trying to build in my own environment. You get all of the prompts that you need to be able to build this out. And then if you're a lazy person like I am, you can actually come down to the bottom of all of these and copy. And this gives Gemini all the instructions that it needs to build out the entire no code agent use case with one single copy and paste job. So this is kind of like the beauty of having an assembly line in your organization. People no longer have to come up with the creative ideas for no code agents, as long as we have a good, thoughtful process around what are no code agents good at and best practices. You have some automations in place to be able to make sure we can leverage that information as well as your business context. You combine all these things, and suddenly we're actually cooking with gas.
Right, and you also have the ability for each one of those that you can copy in the manner that you showed. You can, when you paste it, if you want to put in some additional keywords, because it is natural language, it's not like Java. So any person, layperson, non-technical business type, can easily make this suit their needs perfectly with an additional couple of words or adjectives.
And so I'm literally just taking the instructions for Gemini. So Gemini will be context aware of this entire orchestration workflow. And I'm going to go back over here. I've already pasted it. And it's just a matter of hit submit. And if I were to come back in a little bit, I would venture to say we would have either a no-code agent that's exactly this or something very similar. I won't actually run through the exercise of like us all waiting for that to kind of happen. But I do think that the one thing that I want to leave us all with is just how Promevo has our assembly line or our no-code agent library deployed. So one of the creature comforts we get with Gemini Enterprise is shortcuts. So your IT admin is actually able to go in and provide hyperlinks to any sort of valuable resources for your organization. If it were me and I were running any sort of organization, I would definitely want to very quickly, as soon as you get the house, you get Gemini Enterprise, my next steps would be, all right, let's get a library build or an assembly line, and then let's deploy it, and then ultimately get it to where it's actually listed as a shortcut so that everyone in your organization, this is how Promevo uses it. We just all click here. Any of us, it doesn't matter what business unit you're in, we can all go in here and actually surface these use cases and quickly leverage them. There's also just a lot of creature comforts, right? Being able to sort through high ROI to low ROI. So being able to really find your high business impact use cases first and really double down on those. Brian, did you have anything else you wanted to say on kind of no code agent library? Or
no, I think you've done an excellent job presenting this, and like I said, this is your baby. You actually concede that you don't get enough credit as the author, but because we've slapped our name on top of it, Promevo. But you're actually speaking to the guy who was the genius behind this idea.
The cook. Yeah, I mean, if you're on this call, you're a potential customer. I'd love to have a heavy hand in deploying this. Like Brian said, this is my baby. I've had a lot of fun building it. I think the last thing I might leave us with as it relates to just no code agent library, and this kind of goes into the whole assembly line concept. And it's a little bit about just how the sausage is made. So we actually have a high code agent, which I realize we've not talked about on the webinar, so I'm not going to spend too much time through what high code agents are. But this is what that process really looks like when you take all the blueprints for a assembly line and you put it all together. So we actually have this whole automation workflow where we can take context that we've aggregated about a customer, and then we can actually feed it through this high code agent system that I've built, where at the end of the day, we have a cohort planner agent. So this is taking that context that we feed to this agentic workflow, and it's starting to ask itself, like, okay, we've got all these cohorts inside of our organization, marketing, sales, HR, et cetera. How do we start taking this business context and start mapping some problems that have been identified to some of these different cohorts? And then in parallel, we actually start firing off all of these like agents that go out and do that meta agent step that we kind of walked through. earlier, where we might have a meta agent that is just trying to take all these business problems and really work on HR use cases. We have a whole nother one that will get spawned that's maybe just working on like sales use cases. Maybe there's another one that's working through marketing. We take all of that, and then we actually have a agent that merges the information together, and it's kind of throwing out some of the bad ones and maybe doing a little bit of refinement. And then we actually have an agent that loops over every single agent use case that's been identified and tries to estimate the ROI, leveraging all the best practices that we kind of articulated through the webinar. And then what we get is an entire library made for any one of our customers. So like we've not only built the assembly line, but we've built the assembly line for the assembly line, right? So we have now a very repeatable way for us to just roll out that assembly line into any business that we're really interfacing with. So that's why I love this topic so much. I think that there's a ton of business impact that could be had with leveraging sort of the ideology that's here. I mean, you can even kind of see through like this little automation pipeline workflow down here that first we're submitting context, it's planning, it's crafting, merging all of it together, we're figuring out the ROI, and then we're saving a library for anyone that we're trying to get these built for. So
let's pause for a second and ask for questions because we've probably run over a little bit of time, but we probably should stop for station identification, pay some sponsors. Christine?
Fair enough. Yeah, we are coming up on time here. I didn't want to interrupt too much because this is all great information, and I love seeing the no-code agent library in action. It's a super cool tool. So thank you for walking us through that, Kylan. But yeah, great walkthrough, guys. This is the end of our Gemini Enterprise Webinar Series. So thank you for sticking around to session 4. Thank you, Brian and Kylan, for putting all this great content together. This has been awesome. Yeah, I got to do a little plug for Promevo, of course. So we're a Google Cloud Premier partner. We have a lot of experience, of course, as Kylan and Brian mentioned, deploying and implementing a lot of these technologies from Gemini Enterprise and really the Gemini ecosystem as a whole. So if you have any interest in doing a Gemini Enterprise Accelerator, you're interested in the no-code library, just want to talk about a basic deployment, reach out to us. You can go to our website, promevo.com, reach out to us there, and we'd be more than happy to talk with you about your environment and get you set up for success. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone watching. We really appreciate it, and we hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.